Hello, I'm Jamie Dennis, APNA President, and it's a privilege to be welcoming you to our third virtual summit. In my 2024 kickoff note, I encouraged you all to maximize your membership, to continue learning, and to actively engage with your peers. Your presence here today is evidence that you're committed to our community and our calling as entrepreneurs. APNA's mission is to empower household staffing agencies to grow and succeed through education, mentorship, and collaboration. And it's a really exciting time to be part of APNA. This year, we have more mastermind groups than ever before. Our accelerator program is thriving. We're providing more webinars and learning resources annually than we ever have. And our membership has almost doubled in the past 5 years. And our conference and virtual summit are vital to our mission. This year, we've hand-selected a few of our top speakers and added a couple new terrific faces to the mix just for you. I'm so excited for the knowledge share that's about to happen. APNA's fantastic board of directors and our super administrator, Kelly Garris, have worked tirelessly to bring this conference to life. Together, we'll learn ways to maximize our sales calls, elevate our recruiting tactics, and even get our burning legal questions answered by APNA's industry attorney. I encourage you all to take these next few days to work on your business, to strategize, and to plan for your future. Your commitment to continuing education and to excellence are what make APNA the amazing organization it is. Last but certainly not least, thank you to our sponsors, Homework Solutions and the International Nanny Association for ensuring these APNA conferences happen. Take time to learn about their organizations. You'll be glad you did. So it's without further ado that I bring to you our opening keynote speaker, licensed professional counselor, Chandria Riddick, embracing resilience, thriving through tough times and beyond. Enjoy.
Hi, everybody. I'm Chandria Riddick, and I am a licensed counselor here in the cold state of Texas right now. We're not used to this weather, but it's cold. But but I've been here for years. I've had a private practice for about 17 years, and I love what I do. I love equipping people so that they can be successful in life. And I'm so happy to be here today with APNA to talk to you about resilience, harnessing your power of resilience. Um, I can just go ahead and get started and jump right in because there's so much to talk about. The thing about resilience, we think about resilience being, I'm going to go through something and it means bouncing back to the state that you were in before. But I'm going to challenge that definition because resilience, yes, it is the ability to bounce back. However, it is something that you bounce back, but you're wiser. You have more information, and it's easier when you come back to say, okay, now I've learned that lesson. I'm wiser. I'm stronger. So now that I go forward in my life, I will do things differently. So resilience is that. It's not just bouncing back. We don't always want to go back to where we were. We want to take the lessons from the experience and come back and use that as a part of our superpowers. We learn how to be better, how to be stronger, how to be wiser, how to make decisions differently. So that's what the thing about resilience. And I want to teach you a couple of things. And it's just really simple because we're all making this big thing about resilience, like it's the science thing that it's hard to figure out, but it's not. It's really, really simple. So I'm going to ask you a few questions along the way. If you have some questions, write it down, and I'll be more than happy to answer your questions later. But so there's a couple of things I do want to go by. I do want to make sure that you get as I go. So I'm gonna tell you a little story. I have this friend named Michelle, and Michelle is a kind of friend that she's very adventurous. And Michelle sold all her things. She had an apartment. She's single. She had an apartment. She sold everything in her apartment. She got rid of it, got everything, did away with everything, and she got an RV. And so now she lives in an RV and she travels around the country, um, just camping and hiking and things like that. So one day, Michelle asked, well, do you want to go hiking in Colorado? And I thought, oh my gosh, of course I want to go hiking in Colorado. What? And I'm in Texas. I hike in Texas all the time. I mean, how hard can it be, right? Okay. That was my thinking at the time. How hard can it be? I do this all the time. How hard can it be? So we go to Colorado and it's beautiful and it's everything. And so as we are there in Colorado, look at that picture. Isn't that beautiful? I took that picture out of the back of her RV. We were asleep. I woke up this morning and thought it is a perfect picture. So it is my picture with my iPad. And it's not doctored, it's not anything. It's just a picture of Colorado. It is beautiful. Um, we went to Telluride, Colorado, also. So I don't know where this was, but it was close to Telluride. But I'm gonna show you a couple of more slides. But look how beautiful it is. When we were there, I did not see the challenge of that picture when I looked at it. Right, I saw the beautiful of the trees, of the mountains, of the houses. I saw how beautiful and serene everything was. And she was like, "Yeah, we're gonna go hiking. Everything's gonna be great." Um, so as we went to hike, we went to this place called Bridal Veil Falls. And I'm ready. I got my stuff on. I don't have any hiking shoes, but what I had was my hookahs, my running shoes. You know what? I run all the time. I thought I was strong. I could do this. I've run 4 marathons, countless half marathons, can't even count how many 5Ks, 10Ks, 15Ks that I've done. I thought, I'm prepared for this. Of course, I can hike, 2 miles. I mean, I run 20, 26.2. Who cares? I can do this. So that's the kind of mindset I had. I've done this before. I'm strong. I can do it. So we start walking, me and Michelle, and she had a couple of friends of hers with her. Um, and they are all experienced hikers. I thought, I can walk. I mean, we're just walking, right? I'm from Texas. I hike. However, we drove up and I saw this and I thought, this is beautiful. I cannot wait. I got my camera ready. I'm going to be taking pictures the whole time I'm there. And of course I can do this. Of course I can make this hike. We're just hiking. And they said, we're going to go to the waterfall. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is great. I go to a waterfall and we can do it. So as I'm climbing up the waterfall, we go all the way up and we end up at this one waterfall. I'm thinking about life and I'm questioning my decision makings at the time because I'm going up. It's not Texas. It's not over. It's up. So as I'm going up, I'm questioning my decision making. And so I'm thinking about my ability to finish. And one thing, when it comes to resilience, I think we have to question where we think hard is going to hard happen, and we say, why is this happening to me? I think once you understand that suffering is a part of life, not that you're always ready for it, not that you want it to come, I sure don't want it to come, but I think you have to start questioning, what your expectations of life are. As I'm going through this this walk of this hike, I didn't think that it would be hard. So my expectation is, why would it be hard? And I think a lot of us go through life not understanding that hard isn't something that just kind of happens upon us. It's something that happens in life. It is something that we can count on. We can count on something hard. It could be every day. It could be, every year, but we're either in the middle of something, we're going through something, or we're coming out of something. That's just kind of how life is. Suffering is a part of life, and none of you are exempt from it. So I think once you kind of look at your expectation when it comes to suffering or when it comes to hard things, you have to acknowledge the fact that I kind of have to reprogram me that no, the suffering may come and I might not like it, but I think it's harder if you say, oh my gosh, why is this happening to me and I shouldn't have to go through this. And I know we've all had those moments, but I think the thing we have to remember is that suffering is a part of life and it will happen and you can't predict it. Sometimes you don't know where it's coming from. It's just what it is. So having a sense of resilience is important because suffering is a part of life. You learn through it, you learn how to adapt, you learn how to cope, you learn your different strengths and weaknesses, and you learn that about yourself. You take that information, you process your way through it, and you go on to the next thing. So, because when the next thing comes, you have those tools and you have that equipment to get through it. So, one, I want you to think about what is your expectation of life? Do you expect just to kind of float through all the time, or only certain things can happen to me? But I really want you to think about what your expectation of hard things in your life. Are they supposed to be proportionate to your life? Um, but I really want you to think about that, and check your expectations. So the thing that I want, um, yeah, suffering is a part of life. Check your expectations. Check your expectation is, where do I get my expectations from, and how do I get to this place? How did I come to expect this part of my life? How did I expect that something wasn't supposed to happen to me, right? I went through very devastating things in my life, and one in particular I say a lot, and and I am very open about this part of my life. Um, I had I went through hard pregnancies. I had a baby at 22 weeks of pregnancy. And at 22 weeks of pregnancy, the baby came early, and that baby died at 22 weeks on the 22nd of the month, May 22nd, 1998. My daughter Grace was born. 7 months after that, I was pregnant again, 5 months. 7 months after that, at 22 weeks, on the 22nd day of December 22nd, I lost that baby, Caleb. So two babies, two in a row, I lost. And it made me question everything I knew about life, everything I knew about what was good. I thought I lived a good life. I thought I did everything I needed to do. I thought I was smart. I thought I had the best doctors and I can do all the things. But life taught me different. Life at that point said, how are you exempt from hard things? And how are you exempt from pain and suffering and not being in control? So I really want you to really examine what your expectations are in life and in you. Because I think part of getting through things resiliently is understanding that if I start from behind the line, then it's harder to get the lesson and move forward. Behind the line, meaning if I'm constantly questioning myself, why is this happening to me? What's going on? Why is this my life? I can't, because you're at that point, you're really not dealing with what is going on. It is hard. I cried. I felt everything that I needed to feel in that moment, but it was happening to me, and that what was going on in my life. And I needed to be attentive. I needed to gain the lesson. I needed, as far as medically, I need to know what was going on and all the things that were associated to why those things were happening to me. I didn't know why, but I knew how, and got information and moved on to the next part of my life. And yes, I've gone on to have three beautiful children. They're 22, 23, and 16. Um, and at that point in my life, I would have never known that I was going to be successful at having kids. But at that time and how hard it was, I had to come to terms with that place in my life and say, this is hard, this is what I'm learning, and this is what I need to get through this moment. And how can I get stronger because of that? Okay. So the number three thing, first is suffering is a part of life. Two, check your expectations. And three, hard changes. What was hard back when I was losing babies is not the thing that's hard now. The hard thing right now is raising adults. That's the hard thing, is raising adults. So hard changes along the way. So again, check your expectations. And part of resilience is understanding that suffering will happen, expect it. But the other thing would be that hard changes and you can never predict what the hard is. Now, this is the waterfall that we went to, and I thought, okay, this is what they said. We made it to the waterfall. Oh my gosh, I made it. Piece of cake, right? No, this wasn't the waterfall. Um, it was really tough. I was so happy that I made it to this part of the waterfall, and I thought it was the end. But remember, hard changes. So the thing that I did not understand when I thought I was at a place, and that was the end, I was done with the trial, I was at a resting place. And sometimes we're in life and we're between things that are causing hard things in our life. There is sometimes there rest, and you have to look for the rest. You have to look for the places where you can sit and gather yourself and try to figure out how you feel and how the heart is impacting you. At this at this spring, at this waterfall, I had to take note of my body. My body was tired. My legs were tired. I was trying to figure out I'm not in oxygen. There's no oxygen in the there's no oxygen. I'm from Texas. We're cool. We're good down here. Up here in Colorado, there's no oxygen. I don't know how y'all make it for those who are in Colorado. So the air is real thin and I felt really different. And so I had to adjust to the atmosphere, what was going on in my life. I could no longer expect things to be like they are when it's normal for me. So, in the place of rest, you have to get to this point where you understand, well, I'm in this hard thing, hard's changing. So, I cannot expect the environment to be a source of comfort like it used to be. I need to adjust to the environment. So, whether it's a new job, whether it's a transition into a new company, whether it is a new family, whatever it is, you can't look for the things that comforted you in the past. You can't look for it at this place to comfort you and provide you rest. So you have to look in the place that you are to figure out, how can I rest? How can I recharge? Even if it's hard, in the middle of the hard, how can I rest? How can I sit back and take a moment and look at what's happening to me and come up with a plan. So this is the waterfall that I had to come up with a plan. And I was really upset because my friend Michelle, who was so gung-ho about going, they said, well, let's just get to the waterfall. And I thought, this is the waterfall. She was like, no, let's keep going. And I was like, girl, what? Are you kidding me? I thought this was the waterfall. No, it wasn't the waterfall. So this is the terrain that I went through as I was walking. So as I take this picture, I'm standing up still. So the rocks were about waist high. So I'm hiking. There's no flat ground. This is what I did the whole way up. The hike ended up being about, I think, 2 miles, a mile and a half, 2 miles on the way up. And so I'm hiking up this way. As I'm hiking up during the hard things, I'm checking what my weaknesses are. So I think what I want you to think about is, look at the times where when you've had hard times, right? So you go into the thing, um, eyes wide open. I know myself. I know myself. I know what's hard for me. I know that sometimes I can be pessimistic. I know sometimes that I can quit. I know sometimes I can be so optimistic that I make up things. I dream things, and I don't look at what's real. And I go into this land, and everything's wonderful and everything's perfect. I know that about me. So eyes wide open means knowing who you are, and also eyes wide open also mean, look who else is on this journey with you. You are never alone. There's somebody in your realm of friendships or work that's going through these things with you. So look who else is on the journey. um, as I'm going up now, I'm struggling, my lungs are burning, my heart's going, but what I'm not going to do is quit. Okay. I'm not, I know that about myself. I'm not going to quit. But the hard thing about myself is that I don't ask for help when I need it. But because my eyes were wide open and I was with the people that I was with, they were experienced in hiking. So they would wait. They waited on me and they asked me questions like, are you okay? And so eyes wide open, yes, knowing who's on the journey, but also when you look around and see who's on the journey, encourage them, check on them, make sure that they're okay, because we're all in this thing together. So part of resilience is looking at who else is on the journey, getting help, asking for help if you can't. Um, I think the thing that floored me as I'm looking around and seeing who's on the journey, who's walking, I'm seeing this couple coming down from the hike. They've already been to the top. They've already been to the top and they're coming down there. It's like, you can make it, you'll be okay. You can do it. And I'm thinking, don't talk to me. That's what I was thinking. I'm dying and you want to encourage me right now. But that was my moment of understanding that that the people in that moment were encouraging me and giving me information that I can use. So you have people around you in hard times that can give you information of how to adapt, how to get out, how to maneuver your feelings. So a contact that you can call, some resources. Have your eyes wide open. Part of resilience is having a plan and knowing, right? And opening your eyes and look who's around you. You are never alone. You may be lonely, but you are never alone on this journey of life. Somebody's either going out, going in, or they're in the middle. Remember that. The next thing is you can actually choose your response. I think my response in the moment was one of pride. I was not going to let this beat me. I just wasn't. And I am a person that once I start something, there's something inside of me that won't let me quit. So if I start something, I don't care if it's a degree or if it's hiking or if it's running, if it's I train for marathons. If I go on the first day and I go to that meeting, I gotta finish it. It's just something inside of me that won't let me quit. Um, but in the midst of it, it's still hard. So one of the things I had to do was change my response to hard. Remember, eyes wide open, number four. Number five is change your response. And number four, I said, know your strengths and know your weaknesses. Know something about yourself. Know how you respond to when things hard. Some of us lick our wounds. Some of us kind of blame shift, or we recreate the problem. We make the problem what it's not. Even if when it's our fault, we try to not take responsibility. And this is something you can admit to yourself. You can write that down if you want to. And it's just between you and yourself to know what your normal responses are. But only you can tell yourself the truth. You know the truth. You don't, you can say whatever to me. But even when you're saying whatever to me, you know the truth. We always know the truth about ourselves. So in that knowing yourself, you have to change your response, right? So there's some things you have to change. So while I'm walking, I'm going to go back a slide. While I'm walking up these things, um, in my head, I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to get through this? How am I going to make it? Because we weren't even towards the top. So I started to watch how the people in front of me were doing and learning from them. So they would take the tree and they will pull themselves up by the tree. I wasn't doing that. I was stepping on the stone and then I would try to get to the top and with both with on all fours, my hands and my feet, try to go up on a rock. But then I started to look at the techniques of the people in front of me. So that's what I did. I looked at the techniques of the people in front of me and I pulled up on the rocks and I learned from them. So part of it is I had to change my response, changed how I was doing things. I was complaining. I was like, why am I here? I had to change my mindset to, oh, okay, this is what I have to do to get to the top. What is it that I need to do? Okay, this is what I have to do to finish. And really, I was really wanting to get to the end of it because at this point I was over it. Do you understand? Over it. I was done. So eyes wide open, changing your response. You can panic or you can find a solution. So at that moment, I really did. I really was panicking at the time. So you can panic or you can find a solution. Um, how you react can change the outcome. So you can quit. You can go into yourself and create more issues. You can create more problems for yourself and for the people around you. Or you can stay and you can learn. You can learn from the environment, learn the environment that you're in, learn the hard things in that environment, learn what you need to do to get out of that environment or change the way you respond to it, what you're doing within it. This is harder. I tried this last week, that didn't work. I tried to have a conversation that way. That's not the way to have that kind of conversation. And accept feedback. Oh my gosh, accept feedback. If the thing that I've learned in counseling is how we were raised has a lot to do of how our brains were formed, and how our brains were formed have a lot to do with how we respond to things and our feelings. And so if our brains were formed and constantly being criticized or constantly being blamed or constantly having to care for the emotional state of our parents or whoever was caretaking, who are our caretakers, what we do is we continue that throughout our lives. And sometimes in environments, we don't know what we would do. We just try to adapt and do the thing that's pleasing to the person on the other side of us. And I'm going to challenge you, if that's you, to do some work in figuring out who you are so you can respond authentically and you can respond in a way that benefits you, not just satisfies the people on the other side of you. So know try to know a little bit more about why you do things, why you may cower, why you may get angry and lash out, and look at the history of those things because how you go through hard things can really mess with the outcomes. It can hinder relationships that you have with people. You can burn bridges as you're going through that. So part of Resilience and harnessing the power of resilience is that as you go through, you build, you learn, you grow, you build on um, relationships. You know who is helpful and who was, who was beneficial and who wasn't, and who was a hindrance. And not that you have to go and now confront those people. It's just information that can help you get through and be smarter, better, faster, wiser. Okay, so knowing that is really important. The other thing I want you to think about is go back to bonus, be grateful. That's number 6. Um, Being grateful is really how you thrive. And it's not being grateful through the hard thing, it's just being grateful in general, being grateful as a way of life. Um, I know we were taught to like write down the things that you're grateful for, think of the things that you're grateful for. Expressing gratitude is associated with some mental and physical benefits, right? So not only does it help you remember how fortunate you are or the things that you've accomplished, but it does help with your mental and your physical self. So being grateful is an advantage for you. Also, it improves your sleep, it improves your mood. It gives you a better attitude when it comes to you being able to take on hard things, right? So being grateful, yes, it's a bonus, but it's also the thing that should get you through all of the other steps that we've talked about before. This is me. This is the actual um, second waterfall. This is where we were going. Now, right before the picture, what you don't see is me laying on the ground. I was laid out on the ground. I was dying. And they peeled me up off the ground and said, hold your hands up and celebrate the fact that you made it um, on the route. And let me tell you what I was feeling at that time. One is I did not know that this was the height. What I was used to was a certain kind of terrain in life. And when I run marathons, it's usually flat. There are hills, but it's usually flat. I'm in Texas. I've only run marathons in Texas, so it's usually flat. That's the hardest thing I've done, and that was a really physical, hard thing to do. Um, I didn't realize that the terrain I was going to go through was going to be so hard, and I had to depend on other parts of me. Had to depend on other muscles in my body. I had to depend on how I thought and how I processed information could not be the way I did it before. Um, I laughed at myself a lot because what I was not going to do was be left behind. The joke was my friend Michelle and I were the only two Black people on the mountain, and for a reason. And we would make fun of our friends. We would all laugh about that because what we're not going to do is be left on the mountain behind because we don't know how to get out. We don't go to mountains and hike. Okay. But we had to laugh about that. But in all seriousness, how I've gone about my life did not have this kind of terrain in it. But how I went about my life, I had to use some of the strengths that I did when I ran. I had to use some of the strengths that I learned along the way to get me through. So one thing that I learned in running is that you keep going. One step ahead is one step closer to the finish. So what I've learned in running is that you just put one foot in front of the other. If you're at mile 5, you're at mile 10, mile 5. Your mind can see mile 26.2 at the end. You have that in your mind, but in that moment, you take one step at a time and you keep going. And at this place, um, I got to see that I was stronger than I thought that I was. And I did use the lessons from, all of the other hard things that I've gone through before. Um, so yes, they peeled me off of the ground, but the difficulty associated with that. Yes, I congratulated myself, and yes, I was grateful. And I did all the things that I told you about, but I was really thankful that that I didn't give up, that I just kept going. And I did a lot of things wrong. I had the wrong shoes on, y'all. I didn't have the outfit I had on was wrong. If I fell against something, I skinned my knee and all that kind of stuff. But now I know next time I go, I need trail shoes. I need the right. I had my camelback on. Now I do have that from running, so I had my camelback on, and I had my sweatshirt on, but I needed something else. I need to make sure I have the right jacket on. Now I know. So when I go back to Colorado, I won't look like that at the end. I looked like I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't wear the right thing, but I made it. Another part of that picture, what I didn't take a picture of and what I didn't show you is that on the other side of that picture was a road. And I was so mad because we could have driven up the thing and I could have gotten to the waterfall in a car. Are you kidding me? We did all of this and I could have driven up and saw the same waterfall. But in that moment, as I'm thinking of that, I thought, yeah, but the lessons that I learned on the route, they didn't learn those lessons. The strength that I know that I have, they don't know that they have. What I had to solve and my decision making and how I had to challenge myself, the thoughts that I had to get rid of because they didn't work in the moment, they didn't have that experience. So part of gratefulness was like, oh, I'm grateful at that moment that I've learned things about myself and I've grown. So the next thing in my life, I'm stronger and I'm wiser and I'm more courageous in going through those things. So I was hot, yes, but at that point, I was also grateful that I was able to get through those things and learn the lessons that I learned. So that's the challenge that I want to leave with you. I think that's my last slide. That's the challenge I want to leave with you. And that is what what lessons have I learned along the way? I want to challenge you to kind of list the lessons that you learned along the way. What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? Um, what can I learn from those past experiences? And what can I carry with me to help somebody else on their journey? Remember the people that had gone before me, they were encouraging me and they were telling me how to put my foot up and what I needed to do. And I learned and I watched from them. So you can turn around. Who can I help? Who can I help get through and how help them be a lot more resilient in their life? So harnessing the power of resilience is the things that I said before. Um, it would be suffering as a part of life. Check your expectation, your hard changes, having your eyes wide open, choosing your response, and that being grateful is the thing that's going to help you get through all of those things. Um, the power of resilience, again, is getting through smarter, more equipped, and wiser. You're going to go through something again. Use the tools that you've learned so far, get through that, learn what you have to go through, learn what you got to get from the next experience, put it in your backpack, and keep on going. But you will go through something. Remember, you're either coming out of something, you're going into something, or you're in the middle of something. Hard will always be in our life. Getting through it and learning from it is the key. It was so nice being with each of you, and I appreciate your time, and I hope you were encouraged. Thank you.
Hello, 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 everyone. I don't know about you all, but I have thoroughly enjoyed that session on today. What an insightful message on resilience. I personally am inspired, challenged to check my expectations, and encouraged to navigate this world with my eyes wide open. So thank you, Chandria, for sharing these insights with us today. If you're open to it, I would love to dive into some Q&A that we've received prior to the session and during. So the first question I have is, how can I acknowledge that suffering is a part of life without letting it turn me into a glass half full type or half empty type of person?
Well, I think the most important thing is internalizing that it's not a bad thing. It's just the expectation. Like, yeah, bad things will happen. That's just kind of how it is. The other thing is that even though that there are hard things, I do have moments that things are fine and they're well. And I have to look for things that are good because I can't escape the hard. So I might as well enjoy the things that are good. I might as well take a deep breath and dive into these moments of nothingness. Y'all, most of the time, life is really just boring. And I like the fact that it's boring. I like days where there's nothing to do. And I think on those days, you have to start, just like I said, during the speech is like, be grateful for things when nothing's going on, when there is no hard. But getting through that, you don't have to look at it and say, oh my gosh, everything's going to be bad. I think the other part of life is that there are a lot of good things that are happening, and enjoy those good things.
I love that. Another question we have is, how do we look for rest when we have so many things vying for our attention? Do you have any strategies for that?
Oh my gosh, I think if you think rest is just laying down, I think that's the thing. If you think I have to have all the lights off or watching my favorite TV on the couch and in the blanket, can y'all tell that's what I do? My couch and my blanket are my things. But I can take rest in turning off social media, the constant lighting of your brain, being stimulated all the time. You're not at rest. Your emotions and your body is constantly being engaged on social media. It could be just something funny, you're engaged. It could be something sad, you're engaged. It could be something political, you're engaged. It could be anything. You're constantly being engaged. So part of rest sometimes is to just take a break from social media. Another part of being rest is let your mind take a rest from all the lists that you have to get done during the day, all the things at work. Choose whether it's 5 minutes in the car on the way home or whatever opportunity you have, just to turn your head off from all those spaces and give yourself something else to think about. Just rest, not try to solve it, not try to come up with a new game plan that's going to do this, or shopping list, or whatever the issue is. Just turn off for a second, disengage, and rest. That's all that means.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Next question that we have is, what do I do after I question my expectations?
Well, question your expectations and then try to figure out where you got them from. And sometimes we walk around with things that we were told. We have to be careful of the information that we get or opinions that we get from other people, because they've gotten that from their own experiences. So some information or some that you get, it could mean something to them, but using that could be to your disadvantage, because it could be an unhealthy way or whatever, that however they got that information or however they use it, it may not work with your situation. So I think that you have to make sure that you know where you get those expectations from, and figure out if it's healthy or toxic, and then change that decision. Figure out what it is, change your decision, give yourself new information, and then behave in the manner of the new information that you've behave differently from the new information that you just received from yourself, really. But just change your expectations and make different decisions.
Very insightful. I think I have a couple more questions. How do I change my response to hard things?
Oh, we are not on autopilot. Well, let me say this. We are on autopilot, but we're not just these automatic machines that's always just doing the thing. We have a choice, and every single day we choose to get up. We chose to come here. We chose to gather this information. We're choosing to take this information and go back to our corners of the earth and use what we came here to get today. You can always change a decision. If you say, you know what, when I get stressed out, I eat chocolate. Today, I'm not going to eat chocolate. Today, I'm just going to have a glass of water. I'm going to go walk around, go outside, and give myself something else to think about. You can always choose a different response. You just aren't these, automatic, an auto response all the time. You can take a moment, stop. But the thing about choosing a different response is you will have a little bit of anxiety, because your body will feel different, because your body and your mind is used to doing the same thing. It's not an easy thing to do, to just change your response. You have to go through the difficulty and being uncomfortable, change their response, and make that thing, do it more than just once. And once another behavior becomes familiar, it will be less uncomfortable the more and more you do it. And that's how you change your response.
I really love that. I think so many times we're, even in sessions like this or conferences like this, we're met with so much new information and challenged to do all these new things. But I don't think very many people talk about our natural response to that change and how anxiety ridden that may be, and that our body is not down to do new things all the time. It's always just trying to protect us, and we really have to walk that out. So I think that that is very very helpful and hopefully very useful for everyone else that's listening. What if I don't get the change that I'm seeking after I change my response? Then what?
If you don't get the change that you're seeking, you have to question what you're seeking. That's number one. I think, like Erica just said, our bodies are always in search for being in a place of equilibrium or homeostasis. We just want to be comfortable. So I think that even if the comfort is toxic, sometimes things that we feel that are comfortable, we think that they're warm blankets, but they're actually prisons. They keep us imprisoned in bad habits, right? So you really do have to change some of your thoughts, figure out why, what's going on, what are my expectations, like we talked about before. You really just have to start questioning what were my expectations, what was the goal, is that even something I can get at this time? Do I have enough information? Do I have enough help to get to that change? And then change your plan. Maybe have another goal, or a goal before that goal, a shorter term goal to get to first before you can do that. Before I was able to run 26 miles, I had to run one. So if I got up one day and went outside to try to run 26, I would have been really discouraged, parked my shoes and done something else. But I had to learn how to get through one. So really put some questions to your plan and do some things, give yourself goals that are actually reachable.
Thank you so very much for that. Listen, put some questions to your plans, guys. That's a whole word for the day. I don't know about you all, but I have thoroughly enjoyed listening to Ms. Chandria. I think that this has been very insightful. Hopefully, just like me, it's given you some things to consider for yourself, some questions to ask yourself, some questions to ask about your plan. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. It's the beginning of our sessions, guys. This is just session 1. So we are about to go through the rest of our afternoon questioning and learning new things. And like Ms. Chandria said, if it makes you uncomfortable, do it more than once. Don't just try it one time and then give it up. Try again. Seek out some resources, collaborate with some people. We're excited about everything that this day has for us. We're getting ready to take a break, and we will be back to answer your burning questions with one of APNA's attorneys, Harry. So if you have questions, if you have sticky situations that you'd like to get answered, next session is going to be the place for you. So find your face in the place. Thank you so much for everybody who's joined us this morning, and we look forward to seeing you in just a bit.